Morena tātou e te whānau, and welcome to Monday, day 12 of our nationwide alert level 4 lockdown. I'm sorry, I washed my hair about an hour ago, so it's very buoyant at present. This morning I had the really bizarre experience of attempting to do something unique and interesting for a Monday morning to kick off the week and to try a little experiment, which was I looked up how to make vegan pancakes online, and learnt that I had everything in my cupboard except for baking soda. And then I spent the entire night last night, well not the entire night, approximately 10 minutes, we're speaking in hyperbole here, looking up alternatives for baking soda or baking powder, whatever it is, online, and found out that the alternative for baking soda is baking powder, and guess what the alternative for baking powder is? It's baking soda. So I made some very flat pancakes this morning, but nonetheless I gave it a shot. Morena to Hannah, Hazel, Billy, and good morning, Linda. I have stumbled across some hilarious and interesting journalism of late, that just this past weekend actually, about the weird dreams that I know at least I am having, and I am pretty sure a number of us, speaking to mates of mine across the country, are experiencing at present. There is apparently some science behind it. That being that when human beings experience novelty, they need to, novelty being a change in circumstances to your regular, new experiences that you need to process. Your brain kind of goes into overdrive, and that means that at night when you're in REM sleep that you're trying to work through processing all of it. Fascinatingly, Alex Casey at the Spin-Off interviewed a dreams researcher on all of this. I'll link it in the comments below after we end this live stream for today. But I just wanted everyone to know that you are not alone if you're experiencing weird dreams at the moment. Trent Hansen is saying baking soda is just baking soda with a cream of tartar added. I don't have cream of tartar, unfortunately, nor do I have baking soda, which was exactly my problem. But thank you for the suggestion, Trent. I really appreciate it. I also wanted to note that off the back of that Spin-Off article, I kind of fell down a rabbit hole, as you do when you're on Facebook, and through the comment section found out about a local researcher at the University of Otago who is currently undertaking research trying to collect and collate people's dreams during this most unusual time. And her name is Susan Wardell. And I'll link some kind of ways to get in touch with her if you're interested. But she is seeking to, quote, make something of a digital record about how these challenging, unsettling global events are shaping our unconscious lives. Not quite sure why the light keeps blowing out here, folks, but we'll just keep working through it. Someone is saying, asking about this artwork. So yeah, I have gone through everything that I possibly could have. I'd note that I am in self-isolation in Wellington, so I'm not in my usual home of Auckland, where I have the majority of the art that I've collected from awesome local artists over the past few years. So this is kind of bits and pieces that have that belong to my partner or that we've invested in together. But this here, funny story behind it, it's a piece by Olivia Eddington, and I bought it off of Instagram several years ago now, well before I was a politician. I think actually probably when I was running Ollie, which was a little art gallery, coffee and donut shop in Mount Eden that I started with my partner at the time, Alex, and our really good mate, Brian. And she had put out the call, Olivia, on her Instagram as a student about how she just needed to sell some of her art to pay the bills. So I just said, yeah, I'll purchase this. And I think I paid $30, $50, $60 for it. At that point in time, didn't have heaps of money myself either to my name as someone who is self-employed. But I've always found it really important to back our artists. And on top of that, to back our artists at the start of their careers. One of the things that blew my mind when I first started getting into the art world per se, and don't take my word for anything on the art world, I'm simply somebody who's stumbled into being very fascinated about it and has kind of learned by doing, including owning a gallery, so I guess I can count that to my name. But I remember back when I was running a menswear fashion label with Alex, that we did a fashion show for New Zealand Fashion Week. Actually, it wasn't part of New Zealand Fashion Week because it cost $10,000 to be involved in that New Zealand Fashion Week. But we decided that we would put on a show concurrently with New Zealand Fashion Week and invite all of those influencers, such as Kiwi Ingenuity. And we hired this art gallery, and I was speaking to the curator about the artist who was on the walls, and they were saying, oh yeah, it's this awesome up-and-coming artist, up-and-coming, and I was like, oh cool, it's awesome that they're an up-and-coming artist and you're, you know, using this space to showcase them in central Auckland. And I asked how old they were, and this curator told me that this up-and-coming artist, who they'd spent a long time talking about being up-and-coming, was in their 40s. And that was when I realised that we had a really unsustainable model of art in this country. That being, we expect artists and creatives to be poor for a really long time before we start compensating them for the contributions that they make to improving and beautifying all of our lives. I'm trying to turn off that intense contrast, but anyway, you can just deal with my freckles going wild. So our creatives, if you can, please make sure that you are supporting them at this really challenging juncture. I understand that a lot of us are in a position of being really challenged ourselves, but if you do have the resources to do so, back even those artists who are just at the very beginning of their career, who are finding their style. You'll never regret it. The t-shirts that I wear actually in a lot of these different live streams, and again, I have way more in Auckland, are all t-shirts largely by artists that have just kind of been them trying out their style. And I've always found that as those artists have gone on and developed their work and built a name for themselves, that it's actually bloody awesome to have some of their original first work. And now it just so happens that I'm on Parliamentary Art Committee, which is a committee with representatives from every party in Parliament, and we get to make decisions about the art that is at Parliament, which is really cool. Carmela is saying literally the exact same thing with pancakes happened to me. I'm glad I'm not alone. I felt like such a numpty when I had really flat pancakes this morning, and they just teared so super easily. But I cannot believe that human beings thought that it'd be really wise and clever on the internet and just screeds and screeds of articles to go, you know what the alternative to baking powder is? It's baking soda. The alternative to baking soda? Baking powder. Thanks, guys. That's really helpful. Betty, use beer to help raise your pancakes. Fantastic, Betty Cosgrove. I hope you and your daughters are doing well. I am going to make sure that we do use beer to help raise our pancakes. Although I would say that it's probably, I don't know if it's wise in the morning, although it's probably just akin to throwing some wine in your spaghetti. But anyway, we're saying, oh yeah, Laurel, trying to find alternative stuff in the cupboard. Honestly, Zoe, yes, it is Monday. Welcome to the new week. It's fantastic. It's day 12 here. It's the 6th of April. Yeah, Timothy, you're not alone, mate. Crepes, this is true. I should probably just figure out how to make crepes, although I feel as though I just made really soggy crepes instead of pancakes. Rosie, my sister is having a baby this week, and her eldest has been dreaming that we're all half crab, half people, and then we all had to get together for a ceremony to remove the new baby's front pincers. Checks out, Rosie. Yeah, Jack, with the days starting to blur, look mate, they do, but that's why it's important that we have a semblance of routines and we make them and we break them. I think particularly for me, if I can share any form of experience, it's been that as somebody with clinical depression, this has been a really bloody rough time, and I'll be totally honest with you on that one. I have found it incredibly challenging to not be doing the kind of same things that I typically do on a day-to-day, which is go out there, talk to folks, help solve problems, and instead try to do that through a digital forum. while it's still better than not having the internet by far, I can't imagine trying to deal with all of this stuff through letters. It would take far longer, and I've been able to help a number of people navigate things like the guidelines around lockdown and small businesses and otherwise. It's still a real challenge, and we feel like we're not able to connect with each other. And it's funny because I've always also considered myself an introvert, even though I'm decent at, standing up and giving a speech or what have you. I definitely find my space to recharge in solitude. But it has really, really driven home to me that all of that research that I've looked into over the past few years around mental health, in particular around how isolation and trauma are some of the biggest drivers of mental ill health, how it's not just academia anymore, it's real lived experience. So just remember, be kind to yourselves if you are experiencing some poor mental health, and it happens to all of us. I would say the best of us, but I very much don't prescribe to the ideology that anyone's better than anybody else on this mad world that we call Earth and home. If you do need help and you aren't able, or you don't necessarily want to talk to friends or whānau about it, you can call or text 1737, and that is professional help services in mental health, and they will forward you on if you're experiencing substance dependency or abuse or otherwise. I'd also say that I've been working quite closely with the Minister of Health, Dr. David Clark's office, and across all of government to make sure that we have as much as possible increased support for mental health during this challenging time. Brooklyn, thank you for your very kind words. I appreciate that. Coral, yeah, let's keep well and stay sane. We'll work on it. Oh, kia ora, our mate Kitty Allen, Kitty Tapu Allen, who is a Labour MP based on the East Coast, had tuned in, or is still tuned in. Guys, she is such... she's a mate of mine, she's a really good mate of mine, but such a boomer that she managed to lock herself out of her Instagram account. So search Kitty Tapu or Kitty Allen on Instagram. She's a good one, and if you're in the East Coast, check her out, and she'll definitely help you out if you're experiencing any troubles. Make sure you give her a follow on the Instagram. Kia ora mojo, morena. I've got so many great people watching this right now. Everybody, the right-hand man, Tim Onez, is watching this and deciding to troll me with such comments as, "What's your perfect Sunday?" Ash is saying that the contrasting out is from the white wall behind me. Very plausibly. The light is not consistent in here as well, given that I am relying on daylight. Thank you everyone for very kind comments. Flour was from the supermarket. It came, however, in this kind of surplus bag. So I'm not sure, is there a shortage of flour, Amy? Yeah, Linda, with regard to the use of the term numpty, look, I have some very unusual old world things in my vernacular, and I think that originates from my dad and my grandma, who largely raised me. Things like fisticuffs as well. I get a bit of a good old bollocking from mates of mine for using terms such as that. Jack, yeah, with regard to the pancakes, most of the beer probably evaporates out. That is true. It's just like making spaghetti with wine. Just need eggs and crepes. I'm a vegan. I'm sorry. I know that that's almost like blasphemous to say in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I am, however, endorsing some good old Kiwi companies such as Otis Oat Milk, who have been doing incredible work to innovate on this stuff. 10 p.m. in the UK, beer pancakes. Go for it, Owen. Ben, what am I talking about? I don't know, mate. Pancakes with bananas. Guys, I am going to have to head off to now go on to my 8:30 call with the Green Party caucus. Let me know if there's anything that you are particularly interested in yarning about tomorrow. I will link those in the comments below, that information on the weird dreams that I talked about at the beginning. Frederick is asking about book recommendations. I have been reading... it's not coming to me off the top of my head. It's called Almost Perfect. It is a book about Switzerland and Swiss policy. But also in one of these lives not too long ago, I spoke to a book published by BWB which is a New Zealand publisher, talking about student political action. I can't remember the title of it now, but I'll link that through to you. If you're interested in just general kind of books that have influenced my policy thinking, I would highly recommend, if you're interested in diving into the history of the whore on drugs and the push for drug prohibition and therefore drug deregulation by some of the powers that be seeking to penalise and criminalise some of our most marginalised communities. I would highly recommend Johann Hari, spelt Johann. Johann Hari's Chasing the Scream. He is very intelligent and interviewed a number of brilliant people, including academics, policy creators, god-awful politicians, and those who have been affected by the war on drugs. Briley is saying, my partner and I have made a timetable to motivate ourselves. He's currently running. I'm in bed watching you. Ka pai! We're all doing our stuff that makes us happy. Nathan, the future is looking uncertain. As a musician, producer, and work as an engineer in the entertainment industry. Mate, I'm sorry. I think this is one of the things that we often forget about when it comes to thinking about the creative industry or the music industry. Is forefront of mind are those who are performing, who are on the stage, but a really good mate of mine, Anthony Metcalf, made the point that actually the people who are going to be suffering the most right now are those who are behind the scenes, the soundies, the lighting engineers, those who produce these shows, who have seen their entire income streams evaporate overnight. Performers can still find new income or revenue streams through things like Spotify or online performances or merchandise or otherwise. And Anthony recommended going to Music Helps Live, musichealpslive.co.nz, if you want to help support some of those who help put on some of your favourite gigs, and make sure that those folks are able to be tided over until we all get to go back out there and celebrate our favourite New Zealand music. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for paying attention to and abiding by these rules, which is so critical, staying home, staying safe, and saving lives. Remember to be kind, not just to other people, but to yourselves as well. These are rough times. I will see you all again tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday, today is Monday. I'll see you all for day 13, Tuesday at 8:10. And for those who have hit me up, yes, I am wearing a shirt today because I have Environment Select Committee later, and I did move away from my original approach of not ironing, being on self-isolation, because I found out that it is actually incredibly obvious on video calls when you have not ironed a shirt. Ka pai, we'll catch you later. Kia ora.